moving on to the next segment of our night would be the NBA. MVP rankings just released. Number 1, Jokic. Number 2, Embiid. Number 3, Giannis. Number 4, DeRozan. And number 5, Steph Curry. What do we like? What do we don't like? Did they get it right? Like, who should be higher? Who should be lower? Who should be getting more love? Who's getting no love? Who's getting too much love? Will, do we think Jokic should be the front runner?
I'm going to say Jokic is having an incredible season.
Incredible.
He's putting up just insane numbers. 26, 14, and 8. That's just insane. But to me, you can't be the 6th seed in the conference and have the MVP. Like, I think the MVP, as much as it is an individual award, it also is a team award. That is why. That's why LeBron's not on this list. LeBron's having an insane season. The Lakers are 27-33. They're not even in the playoff picture right now.
Right, they're terrible. Not even a playing game.
No. So it's hard. Jokic is playing better than anybody in the league. But where are you on this?
Personally, for me, I think Jokic is. I've said it for years and years and years, though. I don't think the wins of your team should be the reason that it's. It is an individual award. I get that. And I think it is a team award too. But Russell Westbrook was the only person to ever win an MVP below, I think, a 4 seed or a 3 seed, and that was when he averaged a triple-double a year. And he did it the next year and was not even in top 5. So it's to me, I think that when you're looking at crazy numbers and your crazy statistics, like Jokic and Giannis both are having the highest player efficiency ratings than anybody in NBA history ever has. And Jokic is just now getting some love about it. He's dropping stupid buckets, and that's the reason I think LeBron should be on this list when I get to the who should be higher, who should give some more love. How are you averaging almost 30 points a game, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and you're not even in top 5? All these guys are great. Let's not get it twisted. I think those guys are great, but how do you not, to me, that should be, that would win an MVP. If the Lakers were the 2 seed, LeBron would be the favorite, right?
Yeah.
It's the only difference because that they're just not winning. That, to me, should have some factor in it, but then why isn't Jimmy Butler up there, or Bam Adebayo, or Devin Booker, or Chris Paul?
I
know they're not, lighting the world on fire, but, how are those guys? Steph Curry's only on it because I feel like they're the 2 seed in the West, and they have the second best record in the NBA.
He's having another killer season.
He's having a great season, but he also went on that 6 or 7 game stretch there where they were like, dude, you're shooting terrible. Right before he was about to break the record, he was forcing threes and only had 14 points. And after he broke it, he went on that 2-week stretch of getting below, 20 to 30, 25 points. To me, that's that. I don't know if that's MVP. To me, an MVP is from game 1 to game 82. You are undeniably one of the best players in the league and the best player in the league and on your team. I don't even know if Steph Curry might be. Steph Curry's great, but Andrew Wiggins is having a baller year, and so is Draymond too. When Draymond plays, he's phenomenal. So is Jokic the number 1 guy? Should he be, or should it be someone else?
I don't agree with it. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's definitely should be top 5, top 6. I'll get to the top 6 in a minute.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think it should go Embiid first. I think Embiid, especially with how the 76ers have looked this year, they're looking good. And I think it's the only reason is because of him. And now having James Harden back in the backfield with him, help him out a little bit. I think that team's only just going to get better. So I think it should be Embiid 1, Giannis probably 2. I like DeMar DeRozan. I've been a DeMar DeRozan fan since he was on the Raptors.
He's great. I love
I think he should be 3, and then Jokic 4, and then actually LeBron 5.
So you drop Steph to 6?
I dropped Steph because he's
great. He's obviously great.
He's probably, in my opinion, I told this to one of my friends the other day. He's probably the greatest shooter of the basketball ever.
Right now.
What that guy can do is insane, and he can flip the switch, drop you 60 a game for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
But after he hit that the record mark. He has not been
the same. Right.
I don't know if maybe he's just not caring, or whatever it goes.
Or just, other people are stepping up.
Right.
It is what it is.
Plays back a little bit, too. So, I don't think Steph should be in the consideration. I think he should probably be replaced by LeBron. Getting into that, that's why I think he should be snagged, who's been snagged from all this.
Yeah. To me, the person that shouldn't be as high as they are is Embiid. Actually,
Really?
I love Joel Embiid. I think he's been dominant, but the biggest problem I have is the amount of free throws he gets a game. And it's not that he's not earning those fouls or anything, but if he doesn't shoot, if he shoots half the free throws he's shooting, he would only average 15 points a game. And is a person averaging 15 points a game really the most valuable player in the league? And I know he's getting bodied, and that's fine. But
ultra valuable to be able to draw fouls and get to the line.
for sure, but if you're scoring if you're scoring 50 to 60% of your points from the free throw line, that to me doesn't say you're not. DeMar DeRozan is dropping buckets from inside the arc, like averaging 30 points for like 10 games inside the arc. Not even shooting crazy like 3-pointers or anything like lights out like Steph does. Like Steph dropped 45, but he had 7 threes. You know what I mean? Like DeMar's doing that all within the arc. Like that's insane to me. He's shooting like 60% from the field inside the arc, which you just don't have that mid-range guy anymore. You don't have that Dirk Nowitzki anymore. That Karl Malone, that Manu Ginobili. Like you don't have those guys anymore. Like to me, that's impressive. But if you're getting 15 to 25 points a game from the free throw line, it's great, and that is valuable to your team, and obviously that's winning them games. But I mean, I don't want to see a free throw competition. And I don't want to see who can shoot the most free throws and make them the most. You should make your free throws. I mean, I love Shaq, and I think he's great, one of the greatest of all time. But how do you not just go, Shaq, we get it. You're good at post moves. Go shoot 1,000 free throws on the other court, and then once you get decent at those, then you can come back over here. Like, you should make your free throws. They're free points. But what Jokic is doing with far less talent, because Michael Porter Jr. out, Jamal Murray out. Like, when those two guys come back, and if they come back somewhat decent, I can see the Nuggets going to like the 3 seed or the 2 seed even. But I think Embiid's way too high. And I think LeBron should be higher, and this might segue into some of your arguments as well, or whatever you're going to say is, the craziest stat that I've heard, and I love a crazy stat. I do. I'm a big fan of them. You can ask anybody I know. LeBron James has gone to the hole 70% more than Joel Embiid has, tried to finish at the rim, and he has 320 less free throw attempts than Joel Embiid does. I'm not saying anything about Joel Embiid. That's not a knock on Joel Embiid. I'm saying that LeBron's getting refereed differently. And if LeBron got those fouls, he'd be averaging 33.5 points a game. That to me is not fair to LeBron, because we can sit there, oh, well, your team's terrible. If LeBron got half of what Embiid got, LeBron would be the number one clear favorite to win the MVP, because he's averaging 33 points at year 19 and he's on a bad team. Like, I mean, that's terrible. I mean, that's the reason I think that Joel Embiid should be dropped, because LeBron's still averaging almost 30 points a game, which is higher than Joel Embiid, and is doing it without less free throws. And I mean, I know you're big on the surprise of me and Embiid, so where's Embiid on your list?
So here's where my list would actually have Embiid at number 1.
Okay. Also, highest proficiency rating, and Giannis is my bad. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I would have Embiid at number 1. Embiid's giving me 29.5. He's basically giving me 30 points a game.
100%.
He's giving me 12 rebounds a game, and he's giving me like 5 assists a game.
And blocks.
And
blocks
the
and
Sixers are playing really high right now. I think if Embiid keeps that up, he actually plays the whole season. I think he's deserving of the MVP. Now, if the Nuggets turn it around, I would rather have 26, 14, and 8 for Joker. But I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I want to be there with you where team success doesn't matter. But to me, it just does. I
don't think it should matter. I just don't think it should be the whole reason.
Well, I'm not saying it's the whole reason, because
History would say it is, though. Other than Russell Westbrook. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying that is.
I would like you next week, if you can come up with some other MVPs besides the Russell Westbrook triple-double, where they really should have been the MVP, but the team wasn't good.
Okay.
I'd like to see what other.
Oh, I got some off the
Okay.
But go on.
And that's why I think the list is pretty perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I would shuffle some people around.
Obviously, Embiid.
Yeah,
one,
I bumped
Jokic
Embiid
2.
1. I almost want to put Giannis at 2, just because he's giving me 29, 11, and 6.
But their team's not as good.
Their team is not as good, but so they're kind of pretty neck and neck for me. I would put Embiid at 1, and then DeMar at 4 is solid.
See, I figured you'd put DeMar at like 2 or 3 for you.
No.
I know that's your boy. You've been arguing for him a lot on the podcast the past couple weeks. I know that's been your guy, so I just figured you'd be higher.
I think he's in the right spot. I think he's in the right spot. Steph Curry at 5. Yeah, I mean, Warriors are really good this year, and he's like
course.
the best player on the team. He's playing better than D-Book. He's playing better than Ja. And you know the LeBron thing. Yeah, LeBron's having an MVP year. I just can't get past the 9th seed in the West. I can't get past it. Here's my thing. If say I'm averaging 50 points a game, I'm giving 25 assists. I'm breaking NBA
Will Chamberlain
records.
like
I'm
single
giving-
game
yeah,
records.
yeah. But my team loses half their games. They go 41 and 41.
Right, yeah.
I don't deserve the MVP. I'm not elevating the team.
Yeah.
Um,
How bad would the Lakers be if LeBron wasn't there, though?
I mean, the Lakers
Would be a dumpster
the
fire. They
Lakers-
could be arguably one of the worst teams in the NBA, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. The Lakers, LeBron has to do all of that because the team is so bad.
Yeah, for them to even be,
Yeah.
you know, in it. I mean, it's very reminiscent, I feel like, of like the 2019 Cavs. When they got like Jay Crowder and everybody, and like half trade line, they changed everybody out.
I mean, but that NBA Finals run when they got to the finals with basically LeBron and like Kevin Love, who was
Yeah.
not that great at the time. That's one of the best playoff runs ever by one player.
Not one of. It's
The best,
The
yeah.
best. That's period. If you have any argument for that, if you have anything, you don't know basketball, you're not
You
watching.
weren't
basketball,
watching. You weren't
literally
there
were
watching.
not
You were not there watching.
I don't care what
It was
anybody
it
says.
didn't even make sense.
The finals poster when it's Tristan Thompson and Kyle Korver and LeBron James versus Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're not watching.
But
that.
yeah, so
But
I honestly, the top 5 I think is pretty much right. I maybe would shuffle people around.
yeah, I think the list is pretty solid. I think that if I had to do it like rearrange anything, I would put Jokic at 1. I would leave him at 1. I would put LeBron at 2. I know that's a really big jump in comparison reason. I would drop Embiid to 4, DeRozan to 3, and Giannis at 5. I think Steph is great, and obviously he's one of the greatest shooters of all time, if not the greatest shooter of all time, but he's not, like, I just feel like he's gone stagnant. We're not hearing enough about him just because his team's really good. That's so, Steph Curry was the 8 seed last year, and he was like the 8-9 seed. He was in a playing game, and everybody was like, he's going to win MVP. Like, he should have won MVP. Or, like, he was in the case for it. But he was the 8-9 seed, and I think that might be your LeBron case, too. It's like the same kind of thing, but at the end of the day, Steph Curry was one of the best players in the league last year. I don't care how bad his team was. It's just he was. Same thing with LeBron, and I think that the win share shouldn't necessarily be as big of a factor as it is. I think it does have intrinsic value. Perfect example, LeBron and James Harden. James Harden was only beating LeBron in points category. In 2018, when James Harden won it, by like 30 points or 40 points. Like, LeBron beat him everything else. Field goal percentage, shooting percentage, free throw percentage, rebounds, assists. Like, all the stats that matter, that make you valuable to your team. James Harden only won it because he was the 1 seed in the West, or the 2 seed in the West, and had a great win percentage. But, I mean, that's just the way the MVP works. I mean, is your 5 pretty similar to this?
Yeah, like I said kind of earlier, I think Embiid 1, Giannis 2, DeRozan 3. I think Jokic 4, and then LeBron 5. Probably more like LeBron 4, Jokic 5. No dissing Jokic. I just think, as you were saying, the whole fouls thing. Like, when has LeBron ever got fouls calls?
Much like Shaq. Shaq would get murdered on the low block.
Like,
nothing would happen.
you're having probably, like, stature-wise, LeBron could play NFL tight end and probably be one of the best in the league. Like,
Nobody's faster than him. He's outrunning every corner. Like, you're not catching.
And
Oh, by
so-
the way, he can jump through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And so, like, just to have that, like, stature of player
Yeah.
diving in the hole, what are you going to do to stop him other than foul? And then the refs aren't just they're not going to call it. So,
Yeah.
like, you can do it. You can get away with it. And granted, do I think when LeBron does get fouls calls, his free throw percentage, like his free throw shooting, terrible.
Yeah. I mean,
That-
it's
that-
not terrible. Like
Right,
I'm
it's
just saying,
not
it's not
terrible
good.
at
As good as
Shaq level.
if you would be like, oh my God, LeBron should have. Like, he's shooting. I think
Right.
it's like a career 75 to like 80%.
I actually think he's doing pretty good this year. Like, when it comes to
Yeah.
percentage-wise, like, it's up there one of his better years. But
Yeah, he should be making, like, you feel like he'd be like in the 85
yeah,
to like
you'd
90
think the
range.
greatest player
but
of all time,
yeah.
like Jordan shooting his eyes closed kind of
stuff like
stuff,
that.
he would be like lights out from the free throw. Like I said, he'd probably be averaging like 5 to 6 more points a game if he got those free throws called or fouls called. And
He doesn't have to
made
make all
those.
the free throws. He could just make half of them.
Right.
And he'd still be averaging 4 to 5
And
more
so,
points.
my question is, this MVP award, over the years, what does it even come down to? Is it the best player in the league? Because that's what that's what I think it should be.
I think
It should be like if you're having the best, most valuable player, how is the most valuable player not the best player in the league?
I don't think it has to be the best player in the league. I think it's who adds the most value to your team.
That,
Right?
I mean, that
That to me is important. Perfect example. You remove Jokic from the Nuggets. The Nuggets are a bottom 5 team in
Right.
in the NBA, right? I mean, you don't have Jamal Murray, you don't have Michael Porter, and then now you don't have Jokic. Like they're not great. Remove Giannis from the Bucks. The Bucks are now mid. Like they're just okay. Now, if you remove Joel Embiid from the Sixers, I think the Sixers are serviceable. They're not. What are they? A 3 seed right now? 4 seed? They're not a 3 or 4 seed right now. They're probably still making the playoffs. And remove Steph from the Warriors. The Warriors are still good. Like they're still going to be fine. Like they'll be okay. DeRozan from the Bulls with Lonzo out and Zach LaVine being kind of day to day. They're still okay. Like the Bulls would still be fine if DeRozan was there. Remove LeBron from the Lakers are a bottom 4 team. Remove Jokic from the team, they are a bottom 4 team. It's not like the Heat where you can sit there and be like, oh, Jimmy Butler, Bam, or Kyle Lowry's not playing. We're still winning games. Like the Heat's still winning games. Like we've had major stretches. And we played the Bulls last night in Miami. Held the person that was on a 10-game 30 points in a row to 18 points. Held DeMar DeRozan to 18 points. Held one of the highest scoring offenses to under 100 points. I mean, that just shows. And we didn't even have Kyle Lowry. We had some of our bench guys playing. So it's not like that, right? I mean, I love Jimmy Butler. He's not an MVP guy. He was maybe when he was with the Bulls, but he's just not it. It's just not. Bam, love him to death. He's not an MVP guy. We have other guys that fill those roles perfectly fine and can play it. Not as well, but just play the role perfectly. If LeBron doesn't play, the Lakers are terrible. Even if Street Clothes is there, which is Anthony Davis, by the way, the Lakers are still bad, right? I mean, Street Clothes was in New Orleans with this pretty serviceable team. J.J. Redick, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, bad. Oh, not Lonzo yet, but before that, Josh Hart and all those guys, like bad. They were still bad. So it's like, I think it should be whoever's the most valuable team. I mean, do you think the MVP should change or like what's going on
I
there?
think, Jordan. What do you win? 6 MVPs?
No, 5.
5?
5, I think, yeah. Because he has one more, I think, than LeBron. I think LeBron
Okay.
has 4, and then I think Jordan had.
Because that's
4 or
brought
5.
up a lot with like the GOAT debate, right?
Yeah.
You were saying like if you're an MVP, you take it off a certain team, that team should be like bottom 5 team.
Yeah.
Like you should not win.
Look at
without that
LeBron every time he left one of his teams, Cavs and Heat.
Right. Like Jordan, he gets taken off one of those teams. They're still probably top 10 team.
He did. They went to the Game 7
Exactly.
against the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals and lost. And they almost won that game. That was when Patrick Ewing, John Starks, and
That's when they won.
yeah, that's when they won, and they went to the finals. And I think they ended up losing to the Lakers or somebody. They lost. I think they lost to the Lakers. But regardless of who they lost to, it doesn't matter. They were.
Actually, I think it was Spurs.
They,
Rob.
yeah, it might have been. Yeah, they lost one. They lost 2 less games. They won 2 less games, and they made it to the conference finals, Game 7. Yes, if you have Jordan, Game 7, they probably win that game, or maybe it doesn't even go to 7. Yeah, and they make the finals. Cool. But if you're still making the Eastern Conference Finals, to me Michael Jordan obviously he's great, one of the greatest of all time, really good at the basketball, putting it in the hole, that whole thing. But you remove him from that team, they're still a very serviceable, very good team. I think it's the same thing with the Bucks. I love Giannis, and I think he's great. They're not going to win, as many games as they are, but Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, those guys aren't scrubs. They're a very serviceable team. They'd be a very 5 seed team. You remove the Lakers, and they're already a 9 seed. God knows what they'd be without LeBron. Same thing with the Nuggets. They're a 6 seed now. They don't have a guy almost averaging a triple double every game. God knows where they'd be. MVP. Does it got to change or what? Or do you think it's good where it's at?
I think the MVP is good where it's at.
Okay.
There have obviously been snubs in the past that for questionable reasons, but generally, has anyone? Can you think of an MVP recently where you were like, how did this guy win? This guy totally did not deserve it. Not that maybe, I probably would have voted this guy, but that this guy definitely should not have been the MVP. He is not the most valuable player.
I think Russell Westbrook. I love Russell Westbrook in that year when he averaged triple double, but everybody was just hyping on the train the fact that Kevin Durant left him and now he's averaging a triple double. But obviously, if he wasn't on the OKC, they'd be a lot worse. They would have been a lot worse than what they are. But it's just he did average triple double the next year and nobody cared, and he was still on a mid. His team was still a 6-7 seed. So it's I just don't think he was the best player in the league just because you average triple double. I mean, DeJounte Murray's averaging almost a triple double this year, and he's on the Spurs, and they're terrible. Nobody cares, so I think that's like the most recent one. I think
I mean,
I
but
could argue
it's like
he
you're-
still deserves votes.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like
he was
nobody's
averaging
getting like
triple-double.
it's not like oh this guy's averaging a triple double and then he gets 0 votes. Like it's not like that bad. I'm just saying the same thing with James Harden. I just think everybody was hopping on the train that he was averaging like 30 points for the entire year. That was like a big thing. But I just don't think he was the best player. Like arguably not even the best player on his team. Like Chris Paul was on that team, and it's I don't think anybody's gotten like so badly snubbed. We're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever have that case, but there's definitely cases where I feel like you're like LeBron. Like LeBron should have won it over Derrick Rose. I love Derrick Rose.
Absolutely.
Like he had a great season, but they were just tired of picking LeBron.
Well, they were
so
tired of picking
picked
yeah.
Derrick Rose.
And they were pissed about
Him going to Miami.
Yeah, him going to Miami. Like
Yeah.
they didn't like that. Yeah.
So it's just like I don't know. I think that's definitely hard.
Speaking back on the Heat, though, I really think the way Pat Riley runs the Heat, it's not really a organization that's going to get a lot of MVPs.
No, literally zero.
Except
except
it has
LeBron.
It
Other
has
than
the
LeBron.
LeBron
But when you
MVP.
take the greatest player ever,
Yeah. Like
Jordan Heat, yeah, he's going to be MVP.
yeah, and so I think that's kind of part of this reason why no one really cares about Jimmy Butler right now. I mean, he's not putting up like crazy numbers, but the Heat are playing really, really good. But no one is even like really considering Jimmy Butler. Like, I think he is on the list like at 10.
He's probably 10. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, why'd they even make the list? 10
Yeah.
people deep. Like,
I don't know.
We're this far into the season. I think we can shorten the list down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a little side on the Miami Heat.
Yeah, and I'm obviously a big fan of him, and I think Jimmy Butler should get more love than he does. But when he doesn't play and you still win, and a lot of games too, I think it makes for an interesting argument.
When it comes to, you were saying like people who maybe didn't deserve the MVP, I'm looking at here like past recent like history, like Steph Curry in 2015. I think that was the year they just beat the crap out of everybody.
2015 was the year they won their first finals.
Yeah.
2016 is when they went 73-9,
Okay,
and that was the first year Steph Curry was unanimous, which is still bullshit.
right. That year,
You're telling me
though, that
LeBron doesn't
2015
deserve
year,
one vote?
that 2015 year, he averaged 23.8 a game, 4.3 rebounds, obviously smaller player, 7.7 assists per game with a less than 50% shooting percentage.
Mm-hmm.
If you put that, I mean, that year LeBron had better stats in every single category.
If you put those stats on LeBron, people would say LeBron's washed. If
Yeah.
you gave LeBron that 1 year over his, if he was having that this year, they'd be like, LeBron's done. Send him out to pasture. Like, send him to wherever. Just let him play for another year until his son gets in the league, and then he'll retire. Like that's when the Warriors started taking off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely hard.
That you're talking about the year where
That was the first finals year.
the first year his
2015, yeah.
I mean,
He only
went-
has 2, right?
Yeah.
Steph has 2, yeah.
They went. I mean, they went 67 and 15.
Crazy good.
You kind of had to be there, and I know you were there. But if you think back and remember, just like because part of the MVP in the NBA too is like sort of like cultural relevance. Like
Yeah.
that Warriors team was it. Steph Curry was the guy. Like he wasn't. Yeah, I mean, looking back at his numbers, yeah, like
Steph Curry, that was
he's
the
only
year-
giving me 23 a game. I thought he would have been giving me more.
That's the year that he did the pull up.
Yeah,
like the logo.
It was like
in front
it
of
was like
OKC
it was
and
like
everything,
must
so-
see TV watching them play.
Or like, I think that was that year. So it's like, yeah, you're right. He was definitely the hottest name on the best team in the NBA, record wise, and I mean, you can't tell me like that's where I think the hype kind of comes around. Oh, James Harden's averaging 30 points, 31 points a game, or whatever. But it's like it's just the hype around it, and I think that's why Embiid's getting a lot of love too. Is that the Sixers good? But the thing is, when they come to the playoffs, are the Sixers going to win? And if they do, if they make the Eastern Conference Finals or they make it the NBA Finals, then yeah, fuck it, Embiid, yeah, for sure. But it's when it matters the most is Embiid going to put you on your back, and we just don't know that yet. It's hard to rate a regular season game, but I feel like the MVP rankings are kind of where they should be, and it's roughly where it is. But